Before we go into the comic book, just keep this kind of thing in mind. India leads the world in pollution-related deletions, followed by China and Nigeria. Indonesia and Pakistan round out the top 5. Congratulations, guys. Click the links for Odysee, Bit Chute, or to support the channel by joining the channel, become a member, or using crypto or coffee. So I didn't cover this comic because this kind of stuff makes me insane. I mean, like, it's hard to do on YouTube without getting a little bit too real. So, like I said, India, China, and several African countries lead the world. Oh, so she found, like, what, the one blonde store owner in America? So she could delete him. Congratulations on that rare find. It's like a Pokemon or something. Pokemon, go to the polls. Take a little glance at that Mexican air quality. How's that doing? Or Haiti, or Nigeria, or Liberia, or Pakistan. Why don't they ever address that? Because they don't ever want to address anything real. The naive liberal Europeans care about pollution. They're the only ones who do, and for them to accept that, they just can't wrap their heads around that. They are the only people on Earth. Greta Thunberg and her puppet masters and the Lucifer-worshipping media have been lying this whole time. Oh, this is when Al Gore, this came out a few years ago when it came out that, like, I guess it's their public records, so they go, like, the average American uses, like, 900 kilowatts per month, and Al Gore's home is using 20,000 kilowatts per month. Oh, and then Snopes and PolitiFact and all these fact checkers all went through and tried to, like, do a little cleanup for this, and it's like, oh, well, they used their home as an office, and it's not really fair to compare it because his home is 4 times the size of the average American home. And really, the point is just try to use something like $1,100 worth of gas per month just to keep the heat. I don't even know where it is. Oh, and speaking of which, Nancy Pelosi just bought a house on the beach. Which is funny because when Obama left office, he bought a house on a beach. And in case you weren't following them, they're the ones who are talking about, like, the world's going to be underwater in 2 years. So you buy a house on a beach, like a $28 million house, like literally at sea level. It seems like maybe you want to build it back a little ways, put it on stilts. Like, the media doesn't ever raise their hand and go, wait a minute, the ice melts and the seas levels rise. Aren't you just, like, does anyone want to do any actual reporting? No, because the media is absolutely bought and paid for. Anyway, so Trump, with the Paris Accords, was absolutely 100% right. Climate covenants are freaking pointless if you don't have China and India on board. It is peak clown world to think otherwise. Trump was really the last shot at writing the course without an all-out war. But he was also controlled ops poison pill, so I'm sort of glad that he's gone. Biden is not in charge. His cabinet is in charge. Take a close look at them if you're curious where the state is going. Anyway, so comics are child abuse. They're written by an outraged, left-wing, useful idiots who are mad, but they're mad at China, India, Africa, South America, because those are the ones who are destroying the environment, not Mr. Aryan Blue Eyes. White people are awesome, but the media will tell you otherwise. So kids and adults with childlike brains have this level of cognitive dissonance, this feedback loop going on where the media and their idiot cat lady single professors are, teachers are telling them this narrative of blonde man bad. But, the real world empiricism, they're looking around, they're like, the only people I see caring about pollution are these blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. Everyone else doesn't seem to give 2 rats' asses about it. Someone is lying here. Oh, so late-stage capitalism is a failure, huh? That sounds remarkably based, depending on what direction you want to go in from there. So the comic deals with litter. Now, keep it 100% with me, and please do not say anything in the comments. YouTube knows all those dog whistles. In your own personal, honest experience, who is more careful about littering? Anyway, but in the comics, it's blonde man bad. Why didn't the comics show a Chinese, Korean, Indian, Spanish, or black-owned store? We all know the answer because we're not effing disabled. Liberals are mad, but they can't ever admit who they're mad at. Oh, hey, a comic book hero is going after blonde 1469 edgelord on Gab, stamping out white people. I mean, the supreme ones. So why doesn't the hero go to Memphis, Chicago, St. Louis, and address the inner city gangs that literally delete people every day? Literally, every day they put a child in the grave. Usually it's accidental. They're shooting at one person, but, you know, bullet hits a kid in the back of the head. It's like, oh, we just deleted a BLM protest. BLM is like closing down some road. So a black lady drives up with her kid, and she turns around. She literally was turning around. She wasn't going to charge the protesters. A BLM guy fires into the car and deletes the kid. Congratulations, BLM. Why doesn't Kamala Khan like go to work on any of those issues? All they seem to find in America are these blonde-haired, blue-eyed motorcycle gangs. It is really, and, you know, if you write comics and you're not in America, you would have a very, very confused understanding of the demographics of America. Like, you would have no idea what was going on. Where do they get to the thing is, it's really insane when you start noticing the frequency of all this crap. I don't know if I've ever seen a POC gang in comics. Keep in mind, that is 95% of gang activity in the real world. Anyway, so this comic character finds the rare blonde store owner and deletes him because the bag came from his store. Again, China, India, Nigeria, Pakistan, Indonesia, many African countries, most countries around the world other than the white ones are the ones who are the gross polluters. Like India and China account for the vast majority of pollution. That's just like kryptonite to these people. Then she goes to Africa and she returns African industry to the from that the Chinese took over back to the Africans. No, I'm just kidding, because the Asians confuse the left. They don't know how to deal with them. Does she go to China to stop the pollution there and improve worker conditions? And to be fair, LeBron James would stop her. Slave labor, basketball, shoes, James, knife fights are just part and parcel of our community. Does she seal up the various borders to prevent high birth rate polluters from entering low birth rate areas? Does she go to the third world to work on lowering the birth rate there? No, of course not. And she doesn't go to Mexico City either. It's like one of the most polluted cities on earth. She finds an American pipeline and she deletes people who put gasoline in your car or heat your home in the winter. Well, checkmate, bigot. I drive a Tesla. Well, yeah, but not only obviously the power for the Tesla. It's like people don't seem to understand like the amount. I was in environmental class once, and they were talking about the amount of water that goes in to produce a car, where people look at like old cars on the road that are getting 15 miles a gallon. They go, oh, they should upgrade to a newer car to get 25 miles a gallon. And you start looking at the carbon footprint, the environmental impact reports of buying a new car versus keeping an old car on the road, even if it's a shitty old car. It doesn't make sense. It's always better to keep the old car on the road, because like the amount of fresh water that goes into not only the manufacture but the shipment of a car, it's insane. The amount of like rare earth elements, they all have to be mined. They all have to be driven by diesel burning trucks. Like all the energy that goes into producing these Teslas and these Priuses, it's not just like, yeah, you have to power the Tesla somehow. It's like, well, yeah, not only do you have to get the lithium for the batteries and stuff, but you got to get the rubber for the tires, and you got to get all the, you know, the paints and the all this stuff that goes into a car. It's like, even a Prius doesn't make sense according to the environmental impact. Like, you'd be better off buying like a Honda Fit for like $18,000 that gets almost the same mileage. It's like the crossover points of when they pay for each other, environmentally speaking. You'd have to be commuting for like 30 years before the car pays for itself. But people don't see this stuff. They just think, oh, a Prius, and like it's virtue signaling to my neighbors. Oh, I'll get a Tesla. It's like, I know Teslas are sports cars, but like people also feel a little superior because it's like they got an electric car. It's like, how often are you commuting? Because unless you like, that's your whole gig is commuting, it's never going to pay for itself environmentally speaking. Anyway, so yeah, I guess you're not supposed to put gas in the car or heat your home for the winter, because that's what those pipes are for. Because comics are written by developmentally disabled baby brains. Their problem is the true truth. It's not politically correct. So every bad guy straw man is blonde-haired and blue-eyed. When they know they've gone too far with that trope, they make them shaved head. If blondes are like, I don't know what percentage of America are blonde-haired, they're like 95% of the bad guys in comics. It is insane when you start to look at it. They do it in films also. If the actor is going to be in a negative role, they will dye the hair blonde or shave the head. They did that in Wonder Woman 1984 and also in Birds of Prey. The thing is, once you start noticing this stuff, you can like just create a little matrix of protagonists, antagonists, and how they're coded. And you look through it and you're like, oh my God, this is over the top. And then you look at the real world, you're like, yeah, this doesn't make sense because white people are awesome. They're the ones who are picking up litter. Like, none of this makes sense. It's just these left wings, these Gerry Duggan guys, like all the people on the left who are working in comics. The best you could say for them is they're like well-intentioned idiots. They go, oh, why don't you make it a Korean store owner? Oh, yeah. Yeah, why don't you make a Chinese store owner or an Indian store owner or a black store owner? Why is it? It's like you found like the one blonde store owner in America. It seems a bit odd, you know. Yeah, it's odd once, but I mean, what do you call it when it's odd 100 times in a row? It's like, oh, you guys have an agenda that's anti-white. That's kind of what it boils down to. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all next episode.